Hello everyone, my name is Dorian and welcome to Interlagos. We are with the Mercedes AMG GT3 doing a track guide, so I'm just going to show you guys a lap real quick and then we're going to take it corner by corner. I'm using the fixed setup, brake biases at 54.2 or 54.5, that sort of area. And yeah, it's just a perfect GT3 track. There's going to be a lot of action here. You can overtake, you can probably take it 3 wide on each and every corner on this track. That's what's really cool about it. So we're gonna have some fun here this week. I'm gonna do some racing, maybe 3 hours as well. Now I also started a memberships option in this channel, so if you want to support it, click the join button and see what I offer there. It's not much, but it's gonna help this channel out a lot because I need some more equipment and stuff to make better videos. That's it. If you enjoyed, leave a like, and if you want to see more of it, subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments what you think. Let's get on track. Okay, so we're coming up to turn number 1, looking for a braking point. It's going to be right at the 50. We're going to put the right-hand tires on the white line. I don't want to go across it. It seems kind of dirty and kind of compromises my braking. I don't know, some people make it work. I just like to keep the right-hand tires on the white line here. Brake right at the 50, peaking very high, to around 99%, 95%. Gradually releasing it very slowly as I downshift to around 60, no, not 60, I would say 70, 80%. And now when I put it in seconds, right now I'm in third. Just now put it in second. As I do, you can see how open this corner is still. I want to take a very late apex here, so I'm kind of staying on the right for as long as possible. And now I'm going to release the brakes very rapidly down into trail brake sort of area. And turn in quite late, quite hard. Mounting this curb, and you can see because I took a late apex, I can be very, very early on the power. You can see how open this next corner is going to be. That will allow me to be quite aggressive. This inside curb is very wide, so we want to take advantage of it. Just make sure you do it late enough. You'll have a straight-ish car for the next corner. Now, back to 100%. You can see I'm going slightly diagonally, so I'm still turning left here, trying to open it up. And turning in to the right, and I want to use all of this curb. Just make sure you don't touch the grass, because as soon as you clip it, the car will just snap. Use as much of that curb as you can. Now I'm going to lift a little bit, still in second gear mind you, and back on the throttle as soon as I hit the curb, and stay committed from this point on. You want to make sure you're committed from the second apex all the way throughout this corner. You don't want to lift again at any point. Upshifting to third, and I'm hugging this flat part of the curb the whole way through, just to make sure the car is nice and tight on the inside here. Take a nice short route. There's plenty of grip there. You don't want to go over the high part of the curb. It's going to make the car bounce. It'll be a problem. You won't be able to put some power down. Now, if you're drafting, by the way, brake here. Don't kill people. But if you're not drafting, you need to brake right around here. This is the beginning of this axis route right here. Very clear indication. Again, picking super high. slightly releasing it to around 70-80%. And as I put it in the gear that I want to turn in with, in this case third, you can see I'm releasing it quite rapidly. The one thing I want to make sure here is to clip this outside of this inside curb, if that makes sense. So the flat part, the one that's blacker, this part is quite high. It makes the car bounce. You're not putting power down. You're washing out to the outside. It's a problem. But if you miss this part, the flat part, you will also have a problem. You'll wash out too much. You'll lose a lot of speed. So just clip in this inside curb, and as soon as I do, I'm already back very gradually, very slowly on the power, being quite cautious with it. 60-70%, just squeezing it all the way through. Now committed to 100%, and taking the car to the outside. You can use this outside curb, just don't use the green, dark green AstroTurf. That will be an off track. I didn't even use the outside curb here because I was being pretty cautious. There is more time for you to gain here, but I was just taking precautions. Short routes and line ourselves up in 5th gear for the next braking point. We got this hut here. That's pretty much the only marker I can think of. Well before it, right around here, this is when I'm going to start braking. Now, the trick to not lose the rear end gear for me, because it does happen a lot, the car has a tendency to snap on entry, is to remain in a higher gear as you're braking and turning in. So right now I'm in 5th. I'm going to stay in 5th as I turn in the car, and only going to downshift a bit later, just now, because look at where the wheel is as I downshift. It's quite straight. So there's the rear end doesn't want to snap. So downshift into 4th, turning in the car again, and into 3rd. The car is quite stable at this point, so it's not a problem. And I just want to take a nice tight line here. So grabbing the first apex, letting the car wash out to the middle a little bit, and then turning in again. Now, there's 2 ways to go about it on exit here. One would be to be very, very gradual on the throttle and kind of look for a point where you want to stay committed to 100%. The other is how I did it, which is be very, very aggressive early on, get some speed in the mid corner, and then have to lift again so the car doesn't wash out, and you can clip the second apex, and then going back to 100%. It doesn't seem to make a difference. That's what I'm trying to say. It doesn't seem to make a difference, so you can go either way. The more correct, classic way is to be very, very gradual, very smooth on the throttle application, and trying to always increase instead of going back on and off again. But as far as time is concerned, if you take the smooth route, you gain a little bit of time on the exit here, but the straight is so short, and you have to brake so hard that it doesn't really make a difference overall. So I gain some time in the mid corner, lose some on the exit. Doesn't seem to be a big deal. I guess if someone's chasing you, you want to get a better exit here. You'll be faster under braking. Taking the car all the way to the outside here. And no braking points, so deal with it. I guess you're looking here, obviously, and you want to find a point where when you're looking at it, you know when to brake. We want a real visual marker here on the left. We have this writing, the beginning of this writing, but obviously you're not going to be looking anywhere near there. You're already looking here, so that's pretty much my only indication. If we look at the white line, doesn't seem to be much of a breaking off point where you can really look at it and say, this is when I need to brake. There is a slight one here, but again, it's pretty far from where you need to look. So I'm not looking at anything here. I'm just looking at this apex from about, I would say, this point on. I'm letting the car wash out, but I'm already looking here. Braking, I would say 60%. You need to brake and turn a lot in this corner, so you can't slam on the brakes. So always brake a little bit earlier than what you think is possible, because you want to leave some temperature in the front tires. You don't want to kick the ABS in, or as little as possible. And you want to take a late apex here, carry the speed from the outside, and go all the way on this curb. Now you can use a bit more than that. You can even go on all the way into this dark green part. There's a net here or a mesh, something like that, so you can take advantage of it, and there's no off track. But with the fixed setup, the car seems to bounce a bit too much, and I don't seem to be gaining time from it. Maybe with an open setup where you can adjust the dampers to handle it better, it will be faster. It could be faster, but with the fixed setup, I don't feel like I'm gaining anything from it. So I'm just using all of this curb, putting all of the car on it. Look at it from the outside just for a second, and you'll see that, yeah, I'm just taking advantage of all of it, pretty much all the car on it, and already back on the power quite early. You want to be committed, but you also want to be quite gradual. So 60%, staying on it. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, opening up the wheel back to 100%, because I want to keep this corner as open as I possibly can. You'll always wash out to the left here because you need to carry speed from that slow corner. It's pretty slow, so you want to accelerate and gain some speed on this tiny straight, but you don't want to overdo it to a point where when you want to turn in here, you're all the way to the left, because that will cost you a lot of time. So you want to be somewhere in the middle of the track. Aspire to be somewhere in the middle of the track as you start to turn in here. You can see I will touch the brakes a little bit, still in second gear throughout this process. Touch the brakes a little bit, put some weight on them, turn in the car, hug the flat part of the inside curb, and start accelerating from this point on. This is because I took some compromises earlier, so now I can start accelerating quite early into this corner. 60%, again, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, and then back to 100%. Open up the wheel, taking advantage of this entire curb on the outside. I'm not afraid of going wide here, because if you do it with a straight wheel, the car won't snap. It's not a big deal if you clip it a little bit, but it will be an off track, so keep that in mind. Now, from this point on, I'm aiming towards this tree. So I want to stay to its left. Got this access route here, the red and white stripes. Right towards the end of them is where you want to brake. This tree is a really good marker to kind of keep an eye on from the previous corner. And I'm going to brake right around here towards the end of this access route on the left. And peak to around 60%. Again, we're doing a lot of turn-in while braking, so you can't peak too high here. 60% is pretty much all you can do. Downshift into second. Turning in as late as I can here, because there is a lot of time to gain on exit. You're going to remain flat out for quite a long time. In fact, I think I could have turned in a little bit later as well, because there's so much camber here. You've got a lot of grip on the outside, so you can turn in quite late. And I started accelerating so to around 70% and stayed on it. Didn't want to let the car run out too wide here. Pretty much using all of the track, and only now with an open wheel back on the power to 100%. You can see the rear end snapped. I'm catching it, and that actually did me a pretty big favor, because you want to take the car to the right to open up this corner so you don't have to lift. So somewhere in the middle of the track is where you want to be. You don't want to be all the way to the left, all the way to the right. Both of those are wrong. Both of those will cost you time for various reasons. You want to be in the middle of the track, and then just hug this inside curb, not too early. As you can see, I'm not trying to hug this inside curb from all the way from over here. I'm trying to do it a little bit later, so from this part, and try to stay on it for as long as you can to make your life easier on the exit, so you don't get an off track by washing out too much here. Yeah, so taking the car slightly diagonally to the right here, you got the first patch of dirt and the second one. You brake somewhere in between them. I would say try to brake closer to the second patch of dirt. Keep in mind, you're going uphill. The car will slow down very quickly, so you can brake late. That's what I do here. Almost 90%. Yeah, I would say 90% peak, but the release comes in pretty quickly here. It's a very short braking point. Down into second, so now in third. Into second gear, you can see I still got a lot of brake on, but as I put it in the gear that I want to turn in with, again, we're going to release the brakes quite quickly. And the turn-in point, the real turn-in point, the one where you use the most steering, is as this patch of grass kind of meets the tarmac. Car's going to turn in hard because I released the brakes while turning in the wheel so much. Going to rotate a lot, and that will allow me to clip this apex early. You can see how early I'm going back to the power here. I got most of the rotation done early, so I can go back to the power quite aggressively, because that's what you want. You have a huge straight here. So squeezing it, clipping this curb, and back to 100%. I could see that I'm washing out a bit too much, so I open up the wheel a little bit too much here on the apex to avoid the rear end snapping. So it's vital that you do that. But because I was a bit aggressive, I had to turn in the car again. make sure it doesn't wash out too much, and that kind of kicked the back end out. It might have cost me, I don't know, half a tenth, maybe a tenth, but it's still a good exit, my best exit here. So because I managed to carry enough speed on that corner, in the mid corner. If you carry good speed in the mid corner, it's really good for the exit here. What I'm trying to say. So yeah, taking short routes here, taking the car from the middle to the inside, from the middle to the inside, and that's it. That will give us a 131.588. I hope you guys enjoyed this track guide. If you did, leave a like, and if you want to see more of it, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.